Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man alive, guarded his tent more carefully than his empire. Not because he feared assassins, because he understood something most people never learn, that the people you allow near you shape the person you become faster than any book, any teacher, any hardship ever could. Today I'm going to show you the 7 types of people the ancient Stoics warned us to keep far away from our homes, our tables, our inner circle, because one of them might already have a key to your front door. Stay till the end, because number 7 is the one almost everyone lets in without realizing it. Welcome back to Powerful Mindset, the channel where ancient wisdom meets modern life. Every week we take the timeless teachings of Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca and Epictetus, and turn them into practical tools you can use today to build discipline, protect your peace, and become the strongest version of yourself. If that sounds like something you need in your life, hit subscribe, because this channel is built for people who are done living on autopilot. Now, let's open the door to today's topic. Think about your home for a second. It's the one place on earth where you're supposed to feel safe, where you let your guard down, where you laugh without performing, rest without pretending, and speak without filtering every word. The Stoics believed your home was an extension of your soul. Seneca once wrote to a friend that he didn't fear a rented room in Rome. He feared what kind of company sat inside it. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Energy is contagious. You don't just share a couch with someone. You share their mood, their fears, their bitterness, their gossip. Even after they leave, it lingers in the room like smoke. So ask yourself honestly right now, who was the last person you invited in that left you feeling drained instead of full? Keep that person in mind, because by the end of this video, you might finally understand why. Let's begin with the first one. And it's the one that destroys friendships the slowest and the most quietly. Imagine this. You just got a promotion. You're excited, genuinely, innocently excited, and you invite a close friend over to celebrate. You tell them the news, and for half a second, you see it. A flicker, a tightening around their eyes, a smile that arrives just a moment too late. Then they say, "That's great. Must be nice." That flicker is envy. And envy is one of the most corrosive forces the Stoics ever identified. Epictetus taught that envy is a kind of grief over someone else's good fortune, as if their success somehow steals from your own life. The envious person cannot celebrate you. They can only compare themselves to you. And slowly, without even meaning to, they will start rooting, quietly, for your downfall. Not because they're evil, but because your rise makes their stagnation unbearable to sit with. Here's the danger. Envy rarely announces itself. It disguises itself as jokes, as just being honest, as backhanded compliments wrapped in concern. Are you sure you can handle that much responsibility? I just don't want you to get hurt. Sound familiar? The Stoic response isn't to hate this person. It's to recognize the pattern and stop handing them front-row seats to your life. Because Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you become like the company you keep. If envy sits at your table long enough, you'll start shrinking your own joy just to keep the peace. And that brings us to person number 2, someone who might seem harmless, until you realize what they do with your secrets. Here's a question worth sitting with. If someone gossips to you about others, what do you think they do with you the moment you leave the room? The gossiper is one of the most seductive dangers to let into your home, because gossip feels like intimacy. It feels like trust. I'm only telling you this because I trust you. But Epictetus warned his students directly, guard your tongue, especially when speaking about others, because words once spoken cannot be called back. The gossiper doesn't just talk about other people in your living room. They rehearse a habit of turning private pain into entertainment. And habits don't stay selective. Eventually, your story becomes their next dinner conversation. Think about the last time someone shared a secret with you, wrapped in the words, "Don't tell anyone." Did it feel like closeness? Or did some quiet part of you think, if they'll say this about them, what will they say about me? That quiet thought was your intuition doing exactly what the Stoics trained themselves to do. Observe behavior, not words. Seneca said it best: judge people not by what they promise, but by what they consistently do. A gossiper's consistent behavior is betrayal disguised as friendship. Now, person number 3 is different. This one won't betray your secrets. Instead, they'll slowly drain your hope. Picture this. You've had a genuinely good week. You're feeling light, hopeful, even excited about the future. Then a certain someone comes over. Within 10 minutes, the conversation has shifted. The economy is terrible. Their job is unbearable. Their relationship is falling apart. Nothing ever works out for them. And somehow, by the time they leave, nothing feels like it's working out for you either. This is the chronic complainer. And Marcus Aurelius had brutal clarity about this pattern. He wrote to himself, almost as a daily reminder, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one." The complainer does the opposite. They spend their entire life describing problems and none of their energy solving them. And worse, misery, like envy, is contagious. Sit near it long enough, and you start narrating your own life through the same lens of hopelessness. Here's the Stoic distinction that changes everything. There's a difference between someone processing genuine pain, which deserves compassion, and someone who has made complaining their entire identity, their only form of conversation, their comfort zone. One is healing. The other is recruiting. Ask yourself, after this person leaves your home, do you feel heavier or lighter than before they arrived? If it's always heavier, you already have your answer. Let's move to person number 4. Someone who doesn't just bring bad energy. They take something from you that you can never fully get back. Some people ask before opening your fridge. Others just open it. Some people ask before giving their opinion on your life choices. Others just declare it. Your career is wrong. Your partner isn't good enough. Your parenting is too soft, too harsh, too something. This is the boundary breaker, and the Stoics had a name for what this person lacks. Sophrosyne, the virtue of self-restraint and respect for limits. Epictetus taught his students to sort the world into 2 categories: what is within our control and what is not. Other people's homes, choices, and lives are not within anyone's control except their own. The boundary breaker never learned this. They treat your space, your time, and your decisions as territory open for their commentary and interference. And here's the part that stings. We often let them in because they're family, or because we've known them forever, or because saying no feels rude. But Seneca reminds us, time is the one truly non-renewable resource we have. Every hour spent defending your boundaries in your own home is an hour stolen from your peace. A Stoic doesn't need to shout to enforce a boundary. A calm, repeated, "That's not up for discussion," is enough. If they can't respect that sentence, they've told you everything you need to know. Now, person number 5 is dangerous for the opposite reason. They won't criticize you at all. They'll just tell you exactly what you want to hear. There's an old Stoic warning that goes something like this: fear the friend who never disagrees with you more than the enemy who always does. The flatterer walks into your home and tells you everything is perfect. Your decisions are brilliant. Your worst habits are actually strengths. Every idea you have is genius. It feels wonderful in the moment. It feels like being finally understood. But Seneca wrote extensively about this exact trap. He said that flattery is a poison offered in a pleasant cup. The bitter friend who challenges you is medicine. The flatterer is sugar with nothing underneath, slowly rotting your judgment. Why does this matter so much? Because growth requires friction. Discipline requires honest feedback. If everyone around you only mirrors your ego back at you, you stop evolving. You just get louder and more convinced of your own myths. Here's a simple test the Stoics would approve of. Does this person ever tell you something you didn't want to hear? Out of genuine care, not cruelty. If the answer is never, you're not surrounded by a friend. You're surrounded by an audience, and an audience will cheer for you right up until the moment you actually need someone to tell you the truth. Now, person number 6 is the one people underestimate the most. because they never say anything openly negative at all. You know this feeling. Someone visits, nothing dramatic happens. No argument, no gossip, no criticism. And yet the moment they leave, you feel exhausted, like something was quietly siphoned out of the room. This is what modern psychology calls an energy vampire. But the Stoics understood this centuries earlier through the concept of prohairesis, the idea that our internal state is our most valuable possession, and it can be depleted by those who refuse to regulate their own. This person isn't necessarily cruel. They might just live in constant crisis, constant neediness, constant emotional volatility, and every visit becomes an unpaid therapy session where you give and give, and they never ask how you're doing in return. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we should protect our inner citadel, the fortress of the mind, as fiercely as a general protects a city under siege. Letting this person into your home unfiltered, again and again, is like leaving the gates of that citadel wide open every single night. You don't have to abandon them, but you do have to stop being their only outlet, their only witness, their only source of stability. Compassion has limits. Even Stoics believed that. And now, the final person. Number 7. The one that's the hardest to spot because they don't look dangerous at all. They look exactly like someone you trust. Seneca wrote something that should genuinely unsettle you. Most people don't fear the enemy at the gate. They fear the enemy who's already inside, sharing their bread. The betrayer is rarely a stranger. It's the friend who smiles at your dinner table while quietly undermining you elsewhere. It's the person who says, "I've got your back," and then disappears. Or worse, acts against you the moment it costs them something. Here's the unsettling truth. Betrayal almost never announces itself in advance. It hides behind years of small inconsistencies most people choose to ignore, a habit of saying one thing and doing another, a pattern of loyalty that only shows up when it's convenient. The Stoics taught something incredibly practical here. Judge character over time, not in moments. Anyone can be kind for an evening. Character reveals itself in the pattern. How someone treats you when there's nothing to gain. How they speak about you when you're not there. How they show up when it costs them comfort. If you felt that quiet unease about someone, that small voice saying, "Something doesn't add up," the Stoics would tell you to trust it. Not with paranoia, but with clear eyes. Because the most painful home invasions in life were never through a broken window. They walked in through an open door that you held open yourself. So how do you actually apply this? The Stoics gave us a simple, repeatable filter. Ask these 4 questions before you let someone deeply into your life. 1. Does this person celebrate my wins or quietly compete with them? 2. Do they protect what I share with them or trade it for social currency? 3. Do they add honesty to my life or just comfort my ego? 4. When I'm not in the room, would they still speak of me with respect? If someone fails most of these questions, that doesn't mean you need drama, revenge, or a dramatic confrontation. Stoicism was never about punishing others. It was about protecting your own peace, quietly, calmly, and without needing anyone's permission to do it. You don't have to hate these people. You simply stop making room for them at your table. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he understood that the smallest room in his life, his own home, his own mind, needed the fiercest protection of all. You don't need a bigger house. You don't need more friends. You need the right ones. The ones who make your home feel like sanctuary, not a stage, not a battlefield, not a leaking well of your own energy. So here's my question for you, and I actually want you to answer it in the comments. Which of these 7 people have you already let go of? And how did your life change afterward? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read today to finally set their own boundary. If this video gave you even one moment of clarity, do 3 things for me. Hit that like button so this reaches more people who need to hear it. Subscribe if you want more Stoic wisdom applied to real, everyday life. And share this with the one friend who always lets the wrong people in. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, guard your door and guard your peace.